Dear friends, welcome to When I Cannot Pray series, episode number 43. We have spoken a lot about intellect. Now we delve deeper into the functions of intellect. When we understand that our intellect has various functions that helps us in our daily life experiences, that this should motivate us to know more about our intellect's role in our daily prayer and our relationship with God. Intelligence has its source and starting point in the intellect. We speak of intelligent and non-intelligent people. I do not want to enter into this intricacy of who is intelligent and who is not. This is not the focus of our talk today. Prayer has its beginning in the intellect. That is what St. Paul tells in Romans chapter 10, verse 17. Because whatever we begin in the intellect extends its influence to the will. The intellect strictly functions in collaboration with memory because memory supplies material to our intellect. There is a dynamic give and take process between them. To express this process clearly, St. John of the Cross uses the metaphors of door or a square or plaza, where the intellect gives and takes or exchanges material with memory. This is stated in Ascent of Mount Carmel, Book 2, Chapter 16, Paragraph 4. In other words, when we go to a marketplace or a square, we find people exchanging words, things, buy and sell, etc. This is the process that happens between memory and the intellect. Moreover, apart from certain supernatural communications, the intellect has no knowledge whatsoever save that which is mediated to it by the senses, exterior and interior. Due to its close relationship with the memory, it is logical that the intellect gets attached to the material supplied to it by the memory. For example, I have seen a wonderful movie and the images of the movie are there in the memory. During prayer, parts of that movie may play on the screen of our mind, and the intellect immediately attends to such things. Another example, if we find a person lovable, beautiful, handsome and talented, the memory during prayer time will push such material on that person to the intellect, and then the time is spent on analyzing and perhaps living that experience with that person. Therefore, St. John of the Cross insists that the intellect must be cleansed and emptied of everything relating to senses, divested and liberated of everything clearly apprehensible. He states it in Ascent of Mount Carmel, Book 2, Chapter 9, Paragraph 1. Because he says, nothing which the imagination can imagine and the intellect receive and comprehend in this life is or can be proximate means to union with God. The purpose is that the soul must journey by knowing God through what He is not, rather than through what He is. Ascent of Mount Carmel, Book 3, Chapter 2, Paragraph 3. What does that mean? Well, we cannot find anything in the world of senses that is similar to God. Everything that memory proposes to the intellect cannot have any similarity with God. Through intellectual reasoning and through the material supplied by the memory, God cannot be known. We can have many ideas about God, but the real nature of God will be completely hidden from our intellect. Keeping the intellect totally empty of ideas and thoughts about God we are able to obtain some light on who God is in utter faith. Speaking of the intellect, it is necessary also to make reference to knowledge that is correlated to it. The natural function of the intellect is to gather knowledge. St. John of the Cross suggests that the intellect, by its own power, extends itself only to natural knowledge, though it has the potency to be raised to a supernatural level of knowledge. That St. John of the Cross states in Ascent of Mount Carmel, Book 2, Chapter 3, Paragraph 1. In this statement, we note the mention of two types of knowledge, natural and supernatural. Natural knowledge we obtain through the senses, as I have insisted in the past episodes, and through what we read, learn, hear, etc. Supernatural knowledge is directly given by God to the intellect in the total silence and passivity of human approach in the depth of our hearts. An understanding of the difference between natural knowledge and supernatural knowledge is essential to progress in prayer. Difference, natural knowledge includes everything the intellect can understand by way of the bodily senses or through reflection. Supernatural knowledge comprises everything imparted to the intellect in a way transcending its natural ability and capacity. Ascent of Mount Carmel, Book 2, Chapter 10, Paragraph 2. Let us now understand something about the natural knowledge. Regarding natural knowledge, dear friends, we should know that this type of knowledge is produced through the natural cognitive faculties. Such knowledge is distinct and has specific concepts of its own. For example, knowledge about a nation, knowledge about numbers. So we understand them very clearly. According to spiritual theologians, when the intellect is engaged in acquisition of natural knowledge, the supernatural knowledge does not enter the soul. That is why the need of silencing of our intellect during prayer. Natural knowledge is everything the intellect can understand by way of the bodily senses or through reflection. For example, when we look at things, sight, we understand so many things. Through smell, we understand what is actually happening around us. Through taste, we understand what kind of food can give us what kind of taste. Through the touch, we understand a lot many things about our surroundings. Through hearing, we hear so many things and we understand, and also through reflection. And then adding to that, we have the interior bodily senses. They are active. As I have explained in the past episode, imagination. Through imagination, we combine things, and through fantasy, images are combined and a new image is produced. So that is what we understand by meditation and discourse on the things that we have seen, or we try to make a reflection, and thus we go ahead in our prayer life. About supernatural knowledge, we need to understand something more to help our prayer. According to St. John of the Cross, when a person experiences the inflow of the supernatural knowledge in the soul during prayer, there are the following effects. Very important to understand. This is the quotation from St. John of the Cross. An elevation of mind to heavenly knowledge, and a withdrawal and abstraction from all objects, forms and figures, as well as from the remembrance of them. End quote, Ascent of Mount Carmel, Book 2, Chapter 14, Paragraph 9. This statement signifies that when we are still in prayer, an elevation of the intellect takes place without any form, images, and ideas. The person who experiences this state may not be aware of what is happening in the soul. Writing on supernatural knowledge, which is called also substantial knowledge by St. John of the Cross, he elaborates on the role of the faith precisely to indicate that faith informs us of matters we have never seen or known, either in themselves or in their likeness. In fact, nothing like them exists. Ascent of Mount Carmel, Book 2, Chapter 3, Paragraph 3. Faith is darkness to our intellect. The moment we grasp something during prayer, it cannot be termed supernatural. Faith keeps us in darkness in the natural order and informs us mysteriously on the nature of God. St. John of the Cross further contrasts faith with natural knowledge, which does not show us the object of faith, since the object is not proportionate to any of the senses. End quote, Ascent of Mount Carmel, Book 2, Chapter 3, Paragraph 3. Anything that is grasped through the intellect, through reflection, cannot be proportionate to God. That which is seen and observed through our eyes can provoke faith, but it does not show us the object of faith, that is God. The supernatural knowledge obtained by faith is expressed also as secret wisdom. St. John of the Cross, Book of the Night, Dark Night of Soul, Book 1, Chapter 9, Paragraph 4. It is so mysterious, this knowledge is so mysterious, that a person who experiences such knowledge may not have the capacity to express what it is and may not even understand its nature fully. St. John of the Cross clarifies through a few divisions the way we obtain knowledge of God in our intellect. The epistemological system he employs in his writing can help us grasp to a certain extent in what way we can really know the wonders of God. Dear friends, this material on the intellect and its functions may be a little difficult to understand. But when we really know what it is, our prayer becomes more effective, and we certainly know that God in His infinite mercy and love will bestow upon us the needed grace to advance in our prayer. Let us try to understand the various aspects of prayer, going deeper into its roots and branches so that our knowledge grows, and when we come for prayer, we certainly enjoy the company and love of God, who is always generous in helping us on our journey towards Him. We will certainly understand, dear friends, God's immense love when we enter into that depth experience of silence. What St. John of the Cross says, the mysterious knowledge that is given to us during prayer, to our intellect, and then it penetrates to our will. But it is a very difficult subject to understand. But when we really understand it, then we clearly make out of the certain experiences we had during our prayer time, where perhaps we have spent time, we do not know how we have spent that time. Suddenly we open our eyes and we experience that a lot of time has been spent in prayer, but we do not know what has happened in the depth of our soul. You might think that you have experienced sleep, but it is not sleep. You are not sleeping, but it was a total silent moment where you were completely forgetful of yourself and something deeper has happened in the depth of your soul. And when you come out of that prayer, you feel so refreshed and energized, you feel really good about it. And that is what God's grace operating during our prayer. And then, this type of deep prayer where we have received some knowledge of God will certainly spill its effect in our daily life. We will be more open, generous, kind, gentle, humble, understanding, full of love, gratitude, in raising our hearts and minds to God in praise, thanksgiving, and adoration. All these things can happen when our prayer is genuine, authentic, and filled with faith, love, and hope. May God help us. God bless you.